Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's very special panel. Today, we are celebrating women in tech, and we're going to be speaking to ladies that are all working in the live sound industry. And I tell you what, this is going to be a really fun one. You are in for a real treat. But before we get into that, just a few items of housekeeping. First of all, this session is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing. We will send an email out to all of the registrants with the link once it's available, and it will also be linked on our YouTube page, our main Shure YouTube page, and I believe you'll also be able to find it at shure.com/webinars. Second of all, as we go through the session today, if you have any questions for this wonderful panel, please feel free to type those in the question section. I believe it will look like a little question mark in the speech bubble. Type in any questions that you may have, but be patient because we will get to those at the end of the session. And I think that's enough for me because we have so much great things to talk about, so I'm going to get out of here. Take it away, Chris, our president and CEO here at Shure, Chris Schyvinck. Take it away. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you very much. And yes, despite the fact that my panel says Christine on it, everybody here does call me Chris. So nice to see everybody here today. Like Cheryl said, I'm president and CEO of Shure, and I'm coming to you live from our world headquarters outside of Chicago. This is actually our fourth Celebrating Women in Technology panel. We started these in 2022. Where we had 4 amazing women on our panel focused on the theater industry. Then a year ago to this month, we had another international panel on location sound. And this past fall, we had a panel on broadcast sound. You can watch all of those previous sessions on Shure's YouTube channel. Just search women in the search bar on the Shure channel, and you'll see those 3 panels available via replay. This time today, we are focusing on women in technology for live sound. And we have 5 amazing panelists today from different parts of the world. And let me just say that at Shure, we've really tried to take a bigger role in advocating for more diversity in the audio industry. I actually began my career as a mechanical engineer at Shure more than 30 years ago. In fact, I guess I just told everybody here that in June it's going to be 35 years. And so I became president and CEO in 2016, and I was not the first female leader here. I took the reins from Mrs. Rose Shure, who had led the company since 1995, actually. So that means for almost 30 years, our company, an audio company, a technology company, we've been headed up by a woman, and I think that's unusual, and I'm very proud to be able to continue her legacy. So I'm honored today to talk to this really distinguished panel of great women from the live sound industry. We also have attendees watching and listening from all over the world, so thank you all for joining us. We will start the session with some introductions and me asking each of these panelists here some different questions that we thought of ahead of time. And then we'll also open it up, as Cheryl said, for all of you in the audience to be able to ask questions as well. So let's get into the introductions, and I'll just kind of tackle it, I guess, in alphabetical order. So of first names, I guess. So Becky, can we hear about your background a little bit?
Sure. I started doing this in 2001. I've been on the road back and forth quite a bit throughout the years, but also have a production company and run front of house, monitors, crew chief, all the things except stage tech. I'll let Samantha do that. Systems tech, you can keep that one. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I travel, I tour, I do corporate shows, and everything from small festivals, large festivals, to little breweries and whatever. So yeah.
Okay, and just a programming note, Becky, because the show must go on, I believe you only have an hour with us today. So if you do see Becky's panel disappear at some point into the program, it's because she is on the road and doing her thing. So really appreciate that you can still squeeze us in. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, so let's move to Jan, who is actually coming to us from Mexico today.
Yes, nice to meet you all. I'm Jan. I have 15 years in like audio engineer. Sometimes now I do much more monitors engineer, and I do front of house too. But that's pretty much that what I do, and I'm a representate a collective of women named Showmasters Collective, a Mexican collective that supports women with trainings, with babysitters, with discounts in equipment, and that's pretty much what I do. Nice to meet you. It's a honor for me be representing Latino American girls in this panel.
Thank you, Jan. So we'll go from Latin America to Germany, actually. And Sabrina, could you introduce yourself?
Of course I will. Thank you. I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for having me. I pretty much stumbled into this business on the classical way by starting as a stagehand in 98-ish, and finally found a company to train me as an audio tech in 2000. Worked freelance for about 15 years as a monitor engineer, monitor tech, RF tech, stage tech, everything apart from front of house because I hate crowded people and loud music. And the next step was getting hired as the head of audio in 2017 from the company I work for now and ongoing. But I still tour as a monitor engineer too.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina. So we'll go back to the US again, I guess. And Sam, can we hear about your background?
Hi, I'm Sam Boone. Thanks for having me. I'm a touring audio systems engineer, and sometimes I will switch to A2 and monitor tech as well, depending on the role in the show. But that's what I do. I do everything but mix.
Okay, thank you. And rounding out our panel is Sophie in the UK. Sophie.
Hello, I'm Sophie. I sort of started, I guess, naturally. I used to hang out at local shows, Battle of the Bands, that kind of thing. And the local PA company were like, you're kind of always here. Do you want to push boxes and core cables? And I did that for about 10 years now. And I am now sat in Wembley Arena. So something's gone right, I guess. So yeah, roadie till I die, basically, is what I'm happy doing, as long as it's fixing things and making things louder and you know, swearing at people when things aren't right. That's basically my job.
All right, well, we'll try to make sure you don't swear at us today then. Okay.
I've put a swear jar in the corner, so I've banned myself.
All right.
You
Well,
take
thank you.
Venmo?
Yeah, actually, I'm setting up a a crowdfunder.
All right. Well, thank you all for the introductions. We're really happy that you can join us today from all these time zones. And I think, you know, as the audience can see, there's a lot of talent and experience here. So I would like to get into the first question. I'm going to direct this one to all of you, and I'll kind of go in reverse order that we just went through the introductions, and then thereafter you can jump in on any of the other questions. But this first one I think is important because I think everybody wants to hear, and we heard it a little bit in your introductions, but maybe some more detail around how you actually got into this industry. And, you know, if there's maybe a person that helped along the way, if there was something that happened that, you know, a little spark that made you think this is it, this is what I'm going to do. Let's start, Sophie, with you on that one, and we'll work our way around the horn here.
So that is an easy one for me. And I will name and shame him because it'll be funny. There was the guy that gave me my first ever gig, a gentleman from the West Country called Doug Siddons. He taught me everything he knew. And then he went, if you want any more than that, you've got to do other things with other people, because that's all I know. So take it. So I was very lucky. I grew up in an area where there was lots of like local things going on. I was an emo kid in the 2000s, so there was like always a dirty punk show to go and watch. And I remember sort of going along, I was 11 and I went and watched Bring Me the Horizon in a 100-cap venue, and I couldn't tell whose sweat was mine and whose was the person next to me. And I just went, can I live here forever? Because this is like the only happiness I've ever felt. And since then, that's basically all I want to do, kind of thing. Just make sure that that feeling that I got as a lost little soul gets recreated for every other lost little soul, because there's lots of them, and not everyone manages to get pulled into the correct niche at a little 15-year-old kind of age. So yeah, I was very lucky that I had a sort of very natural, small, local festival, beer festivals, that kind of thing. So, and I was doing open mic nights and was able to go out, he'd go, right, take this 16-channel mix whiz, and when it's not squeaking and it sounds nice, then you can play with the iLife. It's really fancy and it's got more colors on it. So for me, it was very much like train your ears, learn how copper works, learn how Lego bricks go together. And if you can build, how these components go together, it's just more of the same stuff. Like you can look at any digital console because it looks like an analog console, but on a screen instead of on a strip kind of thing. So yeah, I was very lucky in that respect.
Okay, thank you. Sam, what was your hook?
So I am a really bad musician. And as a kid, I grew up in the Southeast US. So there's a church every 10 feet. So I grew up, like starting at 12, I grew up on the little baby LS9 in the corner of the church I grew up in. And I got really lucky, and our house sound guy had real road experience and was like an RF tech in the Army and like knew what he was doing. So I didn't have to do a lot of unlearning. So I mixed from like there as a kid, and then you want to learn more, so you go to the church down the road, and that's now 4,000 cap room you're mixing in. And then when I was 18, I dropped out of college and said, I'm gonna go do this internship with this company called SES. And at the end of my internship, they were crazy enough to hire me. And so I worked for them till the pandemic, and then jumped in to touring right after, because quite frankly, there just wasn't a lot of people left on the road still touring. A lot of people had been at it for a long time, had gone to other jobs. And so that gave a lot of openings for younger people, people that didn't have the experience. And I guess I've just stuck around.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. Sabrina, what's your story?
That was more or less accidentally, because I live in a quite small city. We have a music club with 1,000 capacity that's built on voluntary work. And I have a loose friend, or I had a loose friend pulling me and saying, we need girls. So in the late 90s, they were about diversity already. And I said, what the hell should I do there? I mean, I'm half the weight of one of the speakers you're lifting. So how can I help? And said, no, just come along. That will be great. And I stayed with them for 2 years and really found myself in my happy place, like having touring bands and crews coming by, meeting new people every night, having concerts. And for then, it happened one day that the local supplier had just one crew with the 2 consoles, and they were lacking a front of house engineer. So he went out doing front of house and said, is there anyone who can stand behind the monitor console and just wave and smile? And I said, yes, I will do it. He said, okay, here's the knobs, and if they ask you to put it up, just do it until it squeaks, and then you turn it back down. He said, okay, cool. And that's how I did my first monitor gig back in 99 or 2000, I don't know. And from then it went just straight down the road. I think the first Nightliner was in 2001, and it's going.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, thank you. Jan, similar but different story for you, maybe, I think.
Yes, I start by chance, because my sister was singer in a band, and my mom says, you can't be alone. Go with your sister. And I say, well, I go with you. So she told me, you can be in the stage, go there with the engineer, go there. And I start to see what are he doing. She explains me a little, and I say, oh, that seems interesting. So in that same band of my sister, there was a trumpetist that was engineer too. So I speak with him and tell, I want to be DJ someday. I was with that idea in the past, And she calls me one day and says me, do you are a DJ now? And I say, no. And he tells me, but you want to learn? And I said, well, yes. In Hard Rock Cafe in Mexico, they are looking for someone to put music before and after the all of the shows. So he starts to show me not just how to put it. So he makes me to help to put microphones, and he starts to explain me what about a console. And I said, oh my God, this is interesting. I think I can do this all my life. And so that was my start. And I have a lot of lucky because I met a lot of people that then helps me to being introduced to the industry. And all the people that inspires me at first, all of you, because all of you have a lot of years making this, and all of the people that teach me sometimes a little or a big thing, all of them inspires me, and all the women that leaves their children, lives their life in a stage. So I think I start, and all of them inspires me every day. And now I have inspiration in all of you. So thank you for the invitation.
Is your sister still in a band?
No, she has now another kind for life, for have money, another kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. So you don't have to follow your mom's orders and follow her around anymore then.
Yes.
So okay. Got it. All right, Becky, how'd you get here?
I went to school actually, and then I was pretty much a wild child and got in a bunch of trouble, and had to work off some community service hours. So I ended up working in a church, doing audio and working off community service hours, and that's kind of how I got into it. But yeah, there you go. I knew
right.
Sophie'd get a kick out of that. But, yeah, we had a production company that was right across the street from the church, and the guys used to come over like all the time. We do demo shootouts of gear and all sorts of stuff. So I learned a lot just kind of following the guys around and gaff taping things on the floor and cleaning up after everybody. And, you know, they taught me a lot. So we're all still in touch after 20 years and still do some stuff together. So that's even cooler.
You know, it's just so interesting that you've all come from, well, you're obviously in different places like geographically, but the way you got here is it's 5 really different stories. And I guess what I wonder is somewhere along the way, you had to get tripped up. There had to be some challenges, and, you know, I'm curious to hear about those challenges, either at the beginning or even still today. So that's kind of a tough question. Who wants to go first on that one?
All of us jumping in at once. I'll go.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Since I have to cut out early, I'll go. How's that? Yeah, challenge wise, I've done everything from installs to pull cable to lighting to video to whatever I could to just stay in the business sometimes. You know, I had a gentleman tell me years ago to be kind of like a spider, you know, keep a leg in every area, because if you're in live, it's always moving, it's always changing, there's always something, and the bottom will fall out of one of them at some point. So in order to stay there, it's a good visual for me to be like a spider and keep my hands kind of in a little bit of everything.
We say finger in all the pies, and I think it sounds better. We're just gonna finger all the pies in there and make sure I'm not gonna be out work. I had a interesting one about an hour ago. They're looking for the person that's doing the patch. That's me. And they're asking everybody in the building apart from me. And the best way, it was something that somebody actually taught me, is that to talk to them like they're a toddler with brand new information. And then they're coming to you as like your 3-year-old godson that's showing you a rock for the 15th time that day. And that kind of makes it feel less like a frustrating moment, because you're like, you're actually a really happy child. And, you know, it's just, yeah, challenges are fun, but that's why we're here, right?
I mean, I definitely get that one a lot. It's especially, yeah, especially because I tend to system engineer, and for whatever reason, I just haven't seen a lot of women in that role specifically. And in general, you know, you're designing PAs and you're hanging speakers and you're talking to the riggers in the morning. And my favorite is I get this a lot, especially at festival season, when I'm working with an artist. And I'll walk out to front of house and be like, "Hi, so I'm the system engineer. Like, let me know when you're ready for drive lines or whatever it is you need." And they go, "Cool, I'll just talk to the system engineer when they get here." And I'm like, "All right." And I'll like walk out of front of house and come back. Or the front of house engineer will show up and be like, "Yeah, sorry, dude, you still have to talk to her." But by
Yeah,
and
that's
large,
usually where I turn around and pretend to look for them, and then like go, "That's still me, by the way."
Yeah.
I found them. I've been here.
I think
really
if you let
crazy.
me say, I think one of the most challenges in say me if I was wrong, for us, I look at that when you are in a console or making audio systems, um, you have a lot of people in the background looking for you, but I feel that they are done looking or listening your work. They are waiting for you to make a mistake, or in Mexico it's happened a lot. So I think for us, the woman, we have two works. The first one is make your work good, because there's always waiting for you to take your place. And the other one is being so much for professional to hang on your place. So I think we have that two works. I'm not I'm not hate men. I learn a lot of men. I love a lot of men. I have a boy, a little child. So um but I think in the work, that's always happening, and that's one of the first challenges, and win reputation, and keep your place in the industry, and the people have for you sorry, my English. Is the people is always waiting you for make mistakes. That was I want to say.
And
Mhm.
maybe I can share some positive vibes because within the last 25 years, I've always felt to be in a safe place. And I had really, really few hurdles to come over. And most of the people were very supportive and even gave the positive feedback that having women on tour, when that was very uncommon still, makes the whole thing calmer and more friendly and more open for everyone. And I really had to learn that there were girls and women facing real struggles just within the last years as the topic came up. And I never had the impression that I had to work harder than anyone else. Everybody just gave me respect, as to everyone else they met new, right? So
That's good that is a positive note, Sabrina, because
Yeah.
when you hear stories like this, I'll tend to get a little frustrated and think, how can this be happening in 2024 or whatever? But when I reflect back anyway on past decades, I mean, things really have changed, and we know the ways that transformation can come about, right? And we can help with that, and we'll get into that a little bit too. So very glad to hear that experience from you. So
I think a lot of it kind of depends on, it's individual people. I think at a certain level, there's a lot of insecurity in their own ability. So it's almost like picking out I get it times where people go, "Oh, we'll pick on Soph because she looks like the weak link," failing to realize that I've been bullied and belittled for 15 years by everyone. So there's nothing you can say that I've not already said to myself and hurt myself 15 times as a result of saying it. But I've noticed, I think it depends a lot on the level that you're working at, because when I do like corporate stuff with not so good production companies and things where there's a lot of uni degrees flying around on the A1 positions and things like that, it's a lot of it is like, oh, well, we'll pinpoint the errors that are being made because it's something that I can point out because I've seen that it's wrong, and failing to realize that actually there's probably a lot of reasonings behind that being the way that it's being done. And I think a lot of it is an insecurity from people, because like just chatting to some of the guys downstairs and they're like, why are we still having this conversation in 2024? And I'm like, because in some areas it's still like totally relevant, but the higher, I think a lot of it, yeah, it depends on what level you're at, because if you're unconfident in your own abilities, you're gonna try and pass the buck onto somebody else and make it look like they're, and I got told early on, you know, you're going to be easy to remember, so you're going to be easy to pinpoint and all the rest of it. Don't be remembered for the bad stuff. You're only as good as your last gig, kind of thing. So I don't know, I think sometimes it depends on I've noticed there's the way in which it's said, and you're like, my brain goes, oh, that's because I'm XYZ about myself, but it's actually reflective more on their own brain that they're pointing it out about you, I think sometimes. So it's like worth remembering to try and be like, you're only saying that because you're actually a sad little boy, kind of thing. That's how I looked at it anyway. So, oh, did mummy love you too much or not enough? I can't tell.
Well, you know, there's a little bit of that when you run into, you know, people like that who are disrespectful to women or whatever, where you do have to kind of get your mind to think like, wait a second, where am I at? Who are these people? What are they doing? Because even in different parts of the country, like in the US, some places in the South, you know, are not as progressive as maybe some places in the North, you know, or whatever. And people aren't used to working with women or seeing them any other way than as an object or, you know, somebody who's supposed to be in the kitchen cooking or whatever. So it's their problem, you know, and I have to learn that sometimes too, not to get so defensive and just be like, okay, it's fine, I'm here, you're not, this is what I do, go away.
It's the age old, and this is, I'm probably gonna offend a few people here, is they all do what you do, and if people don't like it, bleed on them. Like, it is what it is. I'm there doing my job, but if you don't like it, says more about you as a person than it does about me and my ability to do the job, kind of thing. And it's worth trying to, it's hard at the time when they're trying to paint you as somebody that you're not, but it's worth trying to remember that actually a lot of it's them more than you.
Yeah.
Whatever the plumbing is, sometimes annoying people are just annoying people, you know?
So if we're, you know, at this point in 2024, like we keep saying, and yeah, things are definitely better, but you all are still unusual in terms of, you know, being a woman in this world, in this industry. How do you think we can help get more women involved, right? Because it's still on the unusual side. What can we do to get more women involved in the live sound industry, you think?
I think that initiatives like this give women visibility, and for other women that are trying to being there on the industry, and I think have a thrive inside this industry gives you strong. Because now, if you let me talk about a little bit of the collective, I found that there was a lot of girls searching for support, not just talking about technical things, not to searching a tribe to solve some problems, because a lot of them I found are alone, fighting for give support to their houses, their childs, and was alone or feel alone. So I found in this collective a support for women. We are a collective that gives the woman trainings and support for being more prepared for the industry. And we made two what's the mentorings. We do mentorings
Mhm.
when all of us have a show. We come with us girls that are studying, so we give mentoring. So I think that kind of initiatives helps women involved in the industry. So help the girls that are waiting for her opportunity. It's so important. So
Mhm.
things like this happen. Things like it's happening right now in this panel. It's a big advantage, I think.
Mhm.
I found for myself, it's a very much being a boss and like a business owner and stuff too. I had to change my way of thinking a lot. When I need this person or that person, I would always go to whoever I knew, which tend to be mostly guys, right? And I had to stop thinking that way, even as a woman. Like,
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Why do I think that way? But somebody brought it to my attention, thank God. And I was just like, okay, cool. This is crazy that I automatically go to Michael and John and all these people instead of reaching out to my woman network and saying, hey, are any of you available? Do any of you do this? Just because you haven't been on the road or I haven't seen you doesn't mean that you don't do it as well as that guy does. I just don't
Yes.
know about you. So like I've started putting on Sound Girls posts and webinar posts and things like, hey man, I'm looking for this, or I know somebody is looking for that. I need more women to tell me what they're doing or where they're at or they're interested or that kind of stuff. And I've got a lot of guy friends in the industry that ask me now too, which is great. Like, hey, we're looking for people. Can you put this on the Sound Girl network, or can you put this on whatever? And I'm hoping they're hiring women. I don't know if they are, but I really hope they're looking more for that because we're here, we're available, we're out there, and I think it's just a matter of asking and networking properly as well too.
Yeah.
I feel like, sorry, Karen.
Sorry, it's probably a delay. I know, I mean, and to add on to that, like Becky, exactly as you said, talking about the different jobs and the roles and what is needed and what people are doing. I mean, I certainly didn't know what I do for a living existed until I was even a year or two into the industry. I didn't know systems was a thing. I was only familiar with, the person standing behind the console, right? So talking about the different roles, whether it's a monitor tech or RF or a system, there's so many specialties that, if mixing isn't the thing that makes you want to jump up and down and do backflips, like there is a place for you. And, back to what Jan was saying is I certainly wouldn't be here without my mentors. I, and for me, I not only actively try to help teach other people, but also I am constantly learning from my mentors and my peers and even just the people I load in a show with, right? There's always a better way to do something. And so being able to take a step back and say, we're having these conversations, I think is the way to bring everybody in, because even as a woman, right, when you don't see people that look like you doing what you do, that doesn't mean you don't have a place there. It just means you have to find the role that fits you.
Mhm. I have kind of a two-part question related to what you're all saying. It's interesting to hear you say that in some cases you kind of fell into it. You weren't aware that this kind of job even existed. So when you think back on your experience here, how do you think live sound has evolved, like say in the last decade, or even, during the pandemic years? There were so many, interesting things happening then or not happening then. How has the industry evolved, and then how can you connect people to know, like, we're here and we have jobs and they're fun and creative?
Well, I feel like I'm gonna definitely say something wrong here, but I feel like everyone, because technology is so much more approachable. I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of podcasters and there's a lot more like open, you can get into tech a lot easier, and going to the whole like how technology has changed. Going back 10 years ago, it's all outboard, everything weighs at least 30 kilos and is at least a 4-man lift, and everyone needs to be built like a brick house because everybody needs a 6'4" tank on the team. But we don't lift things like that anymore. It's all, I mean, okay, so you go out, you've got your wave server, which has got all your distressors in there. It's all built in. That's in your laptop bag. So that's not heavy so much anymore. So technology is advanced. So everything's a lot lighter and is a lot easier to get into. You can give a toddler an iPad, but it's the professional level kit is obviously a lot more intense. So I feel like the X32 generation that makes it very easy to get into the tech side of things. So whereas before, if you were lucky, you'd get brought along with a local PA company and you might get dragged along on a roadie bus or whatever and pull a load of stuff. Now, because people can afford to go out and get like a little road package or a little this, that, and the other, it's easier for people to get into it and then decide whether it's something they want to like carry on with, I guess. I forgot what I was talking about, sorry.
Well, you're saying maybe it's more accessible now, right? It doesn't seem as intimidating, if that's the right way to put it.
It's like it's more accessible to get into in the first place, but I think there's a lot of difficulty to get from like this small circuit to then step up onto the, like, how do you get from working 300 cap shows every weekend in a venue and doing a good job to then getting that step up to the next, like the more professional, higher level of production? That I think is a missing part, I guess. But yeah, I feel like there's you get a lot of like young bands that turn up with the X32 rack and their in-ears set that they can use because they've got the X rack and they can use that with their iPad, but they don't know how to use the next level of decent kit kind of thing.
Yeah. I absolutely agree, Sophie, but there's also the thing is also when you started in analog days, there was just the analog way of thinking in audio, and speaker systems haven't been that highest nerdy stuff they are now. Excuse me, Sam.
Oh, you're right. I'll own it.
And I see with the younger people I work with, independent from being them male or female, they just don't get a proper signal flow anymore, as the world is too digital. So getting them back to where does the signal come from and where does it go to takes a lot of time. And that makes the whole thing more complicated to get into. Of course, you can get into a small console, but you only know how to use this little thing. And going from there into, okay, but how would the whole AVB thing, the whole Dante thing, or Digico work? And then going to large scale PAs where you have to have a very deep knowledge of audio acoustic physics is threatening to girls still. As long as we don't catch them in the early ages and make them aware that all mint stuff is for them too, and not only the pinky kitchen playground.
I mean, I do think it's a little bit twofold because, like you're saying, I mean, yeah, we have speakers that are networked audio straight to the box where it's never analog. I mean, I've toured that a good little bit, and I will say that, you know, as much as analog signal flow is incredibly important, but also when we're talking about specializing, that specialized knowledge is a really easy way to make space for yourself. Right, because if I am able to go, okay, but I understand this networking, I understand how to design these PAs or work with this specific software, right? Every manufacturer has their own 3D modeling specifics. Learning those skills is a really great way to give yourself a place, because then you can go, I know how to do this thing, right? So yes, it is harder. And that, you know, if you don't intentionally try to learn those things. And for me, one of the biggest challenges starting was just figuring out what I needed to learn to get to where I wanted to go, because things are so advanced and specialized. But, the flip side of it is it's a great way to make room for yourself and to bring other people in with you.
But you really have to dive deep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, I kind of wish I'd knew that there was so much like specific job roles that you could do. Like going back to the whole, I didn't realize that system tech was a job. Like when I first started, it was, there was me and the front of house guy, and I'd do monitors and also do stage and put the PA up and, speakers on sticks and whatever. And so I learned, I never went to university. I just went, I want to be a roadie. I'm going to go and be a roadie. And went and did like smart V7 training because I didn't know what it was, and so there were people talking about physics and stuff, and I was like, I don't know what this is, so I'm gonna go and do. And I remember having my mind blown apart by smart like V7 training, and they're talking about comb filters, and I just wrote on the top of my piece of paper like, I'm sorry, but what is a comb filter? I don't even know what that is. And then they talk about it and they explain it, and you're like, oh, that's like when you walk down an alleyway and it doesn't sound right. And they're like, yeah, obviously. And it's like, I kind of wish I knew that there were more specifics, but then because I never knew that you could specialize quite so heavily, I've done D&B training and acoustics training because I thought that's how people understood physics. I thought if you don't know, you learn from, how do microphones work? I don't know, Shure make them. Why don't you ask Shure how microphones work? That's how I got all of my training. So I do a lot of things on like festival stages, and it's like the way I'll do patch and stuff. And it was like patch, I did patch before I even knew it was a job title, let alone what it was. And people will go, how do you do that? And I'm like, because it's just the way it works. It's just copper. It's just signal flow kind of thing. And it's like, so I guess it's like a flip side, because if you do specialize, there's somebody I know quite well that's a very good system engineer, and he tours a lot just doing systems. And I've worked with him on a job before, and it's been like, well, why do you kind of know all this too? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't do that. I don't know any of that. I do all of the other stuff. And he's like, yeah, but you know networking and you know this and you know that. And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm not 100%, so I'm not going to put myself forward for it. And I think there's also, if you don't know that you can do 100% of the job, I won't put myself forward for it. Even if I'm 85% there, I'll go, oh, I don't know it, and somebody else will know 100%, so I just won't go forward. And then other people will reply with like 60% of the skill set, and because they've got the confidence to go, yeah, I can fill in the other 25% whilst I'm working. It's fine. And it's like, and I've genuinely had that conversation with someone before, and they've gone, I don't know why you don't just put yourself forward for these things. And I'm like, but why? What? How did your brain work?
But that depends on whether you're interested in this role or not. I mean, I'm absolutely not interested in doing systems, because I was always more about the part that you have to deal with people all the time, like you have to do in patch and in monitors. So
yeah, true.
That's one big advantage of our industry, is that there are so many roles to fill, suiting your own talents. And we would be nothing without the patch person on the console, nor on the system, because if there's not the right signal in the right channel, you can have the best system and still fail.
Yeah, and I think that's almost why having broad like skill sets and physical sets is so useful on this kind of an industry. Like if you were running a pirate ship, you wouldn't want everybody to all be of the same physical build, because some can't fit in the right places and some can't climb up there very well. So when it's the industry is exactly the same. You need different skill sets and different abilities. Like I weigh 50 kilos, but I can also lift an M2 if I need to. But but I can also, when somebody's put the racks right up against the other racks because they've got no room, I can liquidate myself behind the rack and patch it all in again. So you go, well, hang on a minute, the bloke that can lift all that all the way up there, that's that big. What? We've got horses for courses, I guess.
So question, just kind of continuing on the theme of, how do you convince someone that they can do this job and get more women involved like you all are? What about, we've all talked about some different companies today, right? Shure is sponsoring the event today. There's the production companies, there's all the other companies in the audio chain. How can we, from a company standpoint, what can we do to maybe help bridge that gap a little bit, I guess? Any thoughts on that?
I think the companies need to get in there more women, because I think they are so well. I found now so much girls in a stage, and that makes me happy, because all of them go with me and what do you need, and it's a support, so pretty support, because all of them helps between them. So some companies needs to be in there more women to make social service. I don't know how do you call here we call social service when some students are not getting out the career, but they need to prepare, and the opportunities, more opportunities for the woman to work in the production. So I know that Shure have a lot of trainings, free trainings for everybody. So that kind of things, I think, gives a plus to everybody that wants to learn, and to initiatives like this that makes some women meet another women that are working now in the professional areas, so they can see some tips, some hacks to get involved too. So I think more opportunities for women.
I would say this too, like people who are looking for jobs or trying to get in this industry in live and stuff, people email me all the time. I don't remember who you are. I'm on the road every day. I meet 50 people a day. One person emailed me 6 months ago and I've never heard from them again. I'm not going to remember that you need a job, but for instance, I've had a girl that has emailed me literally every month for 3 years. She's on the road right now because she stayed in touch and she kept going, hey, Beckie, I know I'm bothering you, whatever. You're not bothering me. You're reminding me. and like, I'm getting old. I don't remember where I put my glasses when I need to put them on half the time. So like, that's the kind of thing. Stay in my face, network with me, hit me up on Facebook, email, text me, whatever. I'm everywhere, and I would rather someone continue to just network and say, hey, I'm here. So I can say, you know what? I just heard Shure's looking for somebody. I can connect you with them because this is what you want to do, and I think that helps a lot too. If the younger generation continues to communicate, that's going to continue to help some of us older ones get you out there a little more and introduce you to some people too.
I think that's a really strong message, Beckie, because I think sometimes, I don't know if it's specific to women, but I do feel like I had this sort of, situation where I feel like I've asked for something. I asked the question, they heard me, I'll sit here and wait patiently. And, I did my part. And, being a little persistent, being a little bit of an advocate for yourself, that's not always the most comfortable position for women in particular, I think, in an industry like ours. So yeah, be a little
even thinking about it is actually making my knees sweat. Like, it's actually such an uncomfortable thing to talk about. Like, oh, hi there. Don't suppose you remember me? Probably not, because you speak to everybody. Still need some work. If that's okay. No stress. But I'm really poor. But don't worry too much about it. It's fine. Like, I can't give any advice on that. So could you give me some advice? Thanks.
Always be aware you have been one out of 1 or 2 women they met on that day, so they will remember you. And I think what Shure does is bringing visibility for women in this industry and making it more, making us more visible for those girls and women who want to follow us. And if you have a
Don't follow
name,
me. I only go to the pub.
yeah.
I'll probably already be there, Sophie.
But that's what, see,
Guys,
that's
I
what
gotta-
we're not telling everyone else.
You got to
I gotta
do your thing,
run.
Becky, right?
Yeah,
All
I
right.
gotta
Well,
go play with Indigo
yeah,
now.
we understand. Thank you so much for being here, and your insights have been great. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Yep. Take care. The show
Thank
must
you.
go on, I guess.
No, but I mean, I think you all are exactly right, and that exactly what Becky said. I mean, there are gigs I have gotten because I emailed my account rep every 2 weeks, like clockwork, for however long it took to just say, hey, here's my resume, right? Nothing beyond that, just 30 seconds, look at it. If I don't have a skill set you need, great, that's cool. But at least we've made the connection. So beyond that, and then just whatever role you hire someone in, regardless of if they're male or female, just setting them up to succeed. Whether you're on the road or in a company, right? Everyone needs support.
Sam, did you always have sort of that persistence, or did you have to learn that along the way? How did that become more comfortable so that your knees weren't sweating, I guess, right?
I'm not sure it ever gets entirely comfortable, but I do try to remind myself that it's okay to take up space. And with that mentality, right, I don't have a need to make myself smaller for anyone else's comfort, but I also don't need to, I'm not going to push an issue. I'm not going to go out of the way to make something a problem, but it's just the casual tap on the shoulder, because also, like Becky said, I don't know what's in my email inbox right now, but I know it's a lot. And I know that sometimes I need that reminder, right? So just remembering that it's not personal and it's okay to take up space. And it is a learned skill for everyone that I'm aware of, especially for me.
Mm-hmm. It's a good reminder. So, kind of following along that vein, then Becky gave us these words before she had to leave us. What message do you think you would give to somebody just trying to break in, to a student, to a young person just, trying to get into this industry, maybe even somebody that's, watching today? What would you tell them to stay here or just to get involved in the first place?
I think the best tool that they have is the knowledge. We have like all us like all of us say it. Take the easy information that at in internet. You have at one click. So take it. Listen a lot of music. Because you need to know what's the difference between punk music and pop music, and what's the difference. Ask all of you need to ask. Don't feel that your questions are stupid or some kind of that, because the people that are professional always will give you the answers with all her heart. And you need to be prepared when your opportunity comes. Are you really prepared when that opportunity that are you waiting for comes to knock your door? You need to be prepared with all the knowledge can be possible. Anybody knows anything. Anybody knows everything. So all of us are learning every day too. Anybody knows everything. So don't feel fear to ask. And it's a good thing that it's happening today. We are opening new doors for the girls that are coming now. So take the chances and ask. That, I think, that was that first things that you need to learn. Have knowledge and ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It will be. Sorry, the last. Sorry. I think we have the opportunities now. The opportunity is there, but you need to take it and be prepared for that moment. Sorry, Sophie.
Thanks, Jen.
So I think I've been cutting in on you quite a bit, so don't worry about it. I think I'd probably say talk, ironically, talk less and listen more. Um, because there's a lot of things that you learn by just picking up things. Every day is a school day, like all the time. Somebody will do something weird and you'll be like, oh, I've never thought of that, you know? And don't give up. There's certain level of giving up, but like every day you're going to have a day that you're like, oh, I don't really know why I'm bothering doing this. And this is when you get on your phone and you find your friends who are also in the same business as you and go, today's really bad, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, it's pretty terrible, but continue existing and it might be fun by summer. There's a lot of downs, but the ups are incredible when they're there. And when they're not there, it is sad. But don't give up because the world is still existing.
Sam, what do you think?
I mean, I would say don't be afraid to try whatever you have interest in at least once, right? I intentionally once a year will take a tour as a monitor tech, even though I tune PAs 90% of the time, because it makes me a better system tech to have to think about what's going on stage and what the signal flow of patch is. And okay, well, my speakers are in the air, but now they're not my speakers and now they're in my way. So how do I, when I'm in the other chair, make someone else's life easier, right? And so just experience is what you need right after you got it, and so whatever you can do to broaden your horizons, stay aware of other people, and then just expose yourself to what's going on in the industry and the world, because you will learn something from everybody you meet, even if at times it is what not to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just give it a go. Don't be afraid. If you hit it, don't do it twice.
But do it twice just in case you got it wrong the first time, and you do it right, and it might be the best thing you've ever done.
The worst.
Sabrina, what would be your advice?
Yeah, I would just go with Sam. Like, take your space and get to know people. Start networking. Keep your contacts up to date. Try to keep in touch with people. In Germany, we're in the lucky position to have this official 3-year apprenticeship that you can take when you find a company that hires you, and you will come out of this apprenticeship with a degree as an event technician. So that's an even easier entry than just starting it from the scratch on the road on your own. But this will help you when you have the chance. Just go apply for jobs, even if you think it's maybe not the one that suits you best, but gives you a chance to take a closer look to what you might be doing then.
I think it's important to say that it will be hard. It will be a hard way, because you need to lift family, ceremonies, sometimes you're unhealthy. But it's a really, really, really pretty work. It gives you a lot of rewards, and don't feel, sometimes you will feel that you can't, and you will be ask yourself, it's the right way, but keeping going, and you will come, because if we all of these girls that are today talking about, you can too.
Thank you.
And we should definitely overcome the opinion that we have to give 150% to suit the male 100. This is absolutely old-fashioned style and not 2024. And I would recommend every girl I meet, just do the best you can do, but don't try to be better than everyone else, because no one else does.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think also not underestimating your personal network as well. Like there's a certain element of, you can be lucky and you can get in with the right crowd and be the top of the crowd. I'm not very good at that. I'm very bad at like chasing emails and re-emailing and emailing again and trying again. So I get a lot of my work through old friends that have always sort of stuck around. And it was something that I was literally reminded on the last job I was doing prior to this one. The guy that I was doing the cover for was a friend that I'd met on a job, on another job. The old way that you always used to get work, you network through the jobs, and you do the job with the person that you did the job for. And there's a lot to be said of the people that you meet along the way, those unofficial mentorships that you miraculously pick up off of one guy that you met one time, or this other time that you did this thing, and you never know quite who is going to be the person that gives you your next thing. Like, don't be horrible to everyone. Like, and always smile at catering, because you never know when being nice to catering is going to give you that extra dollop of beans in the morning, and a good breakfast is a good crew, which means a good show for everyone. So always smile at catering. They feed you.
Always be kind, because you always
everyone.
have to ask people for things. Like, you shouldn't yell at the rigger, but ask him to move the point to where you need it kindly, because he will do it. He will do it again for the next time if he remembers you having been kind.
I had a similar thing happened on the load-in downstairs. We had something that wasn't on the spec. The drummer's got a little pad that he sets up, and it's all networked to the console. And what, you don't have a Cat 5? And it's like, not at 150 meters. No, because that's the multi that's already gone in. And because dare I say it, the video guys that we worked with on the last show, we lent them a plug board or something simple like that. And it was just happened to be in the bottom of my Pele case that I wasn't using. I sort of threw it at them and just went, just have that and be done with it. And then today, when it's like, the warehouse is only 20 minutes down the road, so it won't take us long to get it. You just go, oh, Ravi, can I pinch that drum that you're not using, mate? And he goes, oh yeah, of course you can, so. And it's like, oh, people go, where did you get that from? And I'm like, well, not every idiot's an idiot, you know what I mean? And it's like just doing that whole scratching and just being nice. Yes, always waiting for lights, and yes, they're always in our way. But if we stop taking the mic, they might actually be able to give us a useful cable so that we can get to the rest of our job quicker.
So I'm actually going to, at this point, I think I've exhausted most of my questions. I'd like to see what's on the audience's mind, because it's really, been fascinating to listen to all of you. And I think I wrote down some words as takeaways, like what are things that we should all do every day? And the 4 words I came up with were learn, teach, network, and smile. So,
don't tell me to smile. Don't you dare tell me to smile.
Smile at catering. At catering.
Nothing else. Get your food. So Cheryl, I'll let you take us over here.
Great. Oh my goodness. We have so many great questions. I just want to let the panelists know we have a lot of women that are in the industry and or interested in the industry that are attending, and they're so appreciative. So this is just a great group. The first thing I want to kick off on is there's a lot of questions about resources and resources on how to get into the industry, resources on training. I know we've talked a lot about Sound Girls. That's come up quite a bit, soundgirls.org. There's a great website there with all sorts of resources across the gamut. I know, Jan, you've talked about your Showmasters Collective. I believe you all are on Facebook and Instagram, correct? Yeah, yes, so correct. That's another great resource, especially if you're in Latin America. Check out Showmasters Collective. There's also Women's Audio Mission is another website. You can search for any of these. There are so many great resources. And then in terms of training, there's a couple of questions about, where can I get free training? The Shure website has the Shure Audio Institute. If you go under our support tab on our website, you can access the Audio Institute. We have a lot of webinars there too across all sorts of sound topics. And then there's all sorts of other sites too, not just ours, where you can learn this. Sophie, you raised your finger.
I did. In Europe, there's womeninlive.eu. It's not just audio, but it's the whole live production thing as a thing. They do. I don't know much about the logistics, but they do training stuff. I've done 2 D&B seminars in Backnang with the Women in Live group. And they do like walk and talks as well. And it's like all production, so it's not just audio. That's another group.
Are there any other resources or groups that you all are aware of that we haven't brought up?
The Well Done Foundation is phenomenal. And for anyone who's currently working in the industry and touring or not, the Roadie Clinic also has a lot of resources. Both of those are phenomenal organizations that do a lot of support for diversity and inclusion, as well as trainings.
Awesome. Anybody else got anything? I think we covered quite a few.
I was going to say, I found a lot through, I hate to be that guy, Googling literally manufacturer training, and seeing what like companies I knew that existed, speakers that I knew existed, and going, right, how do I find out what you do? And like, I know it sounds really stupid to say Google it, but like literally going training sessions near me, and there's like quite a few like incentive schemes. I know in England, like there's apprenticeships becoming quite a big thing as well over here, that obviously do a lot of on job training and stuff like that. But yeah, I did a lot of it through literally going, I saw this speaker once, so I'm going to see if they can teach me how to speaker.
Yeah, there's a lot of great training. Go, please.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know that Bridro has a training going on in the UK. And if you're based in Germany or in the countries next to Germany, Germany has an apprenticeship that mainly every company offers and takes a couple of, let's say, kids every year after school to train them for 3 years.
Great.
And most major PA manufacturers offer either paid or free trainings. I believe D&B has a whole network of virtual trainings you can take online. Meyer Sound and L Acoustics both have paid classes as well, I believe.
And
they're
Martin
all
Audio. Don't forget about the Brits. Martin Audio do training as well if you're interested in looking at limos.
So basically, there's a lot of resources out there. That's fantastic. So kind of talking about, finding your niche. How do you think women in the sound industry can find their niche, and what's a good way to kind of learn about the different roles in the live sound industry?
Can
Just
you
do it and see what happens. It's my opinion. That's how I did it, and found out how I found out what I really didn't like doing, and just avoided doing those and tried to do more of the ones. But then I kind of never really stopped and looked at anything I did at any point. It's sort of more just going, here's the, and just kind of taking the opportunities that are kind of in front of me. So I never really, I'd still, even having this conversation with you guys, I'm still like, I don't really know what I'm here for. So I think if you're somebody that, I guess you've got 2 types of people. For me, it's go out and see what there is and see what you don't like. And some people don't have the confidence to just get it wrong. So I guess and I think going back to the apprenticeship thing, if you're not really sure where it is you want to specialize, by going with a production company or an audio company that are quite a big company, they get to know you as an individual, primarily through being part of the warehouse team or whatever, and then you can learn all of the practical skills by being in the warehouse, learning from the people that are coming in, freelancing, prepping the jobs, going out on the road with the kit, and you can quickly find out you know, I always wanted to be a front of house engineer because I like big boxes and standing in crowds, because I always used to be the little kid that would fight myself to the front of an audience, even if I was the last person in the door. And it was working with companies that they went, you're not a front of house person, so if you talk to people far too well, and we can always find you on a stage, so you're that end of the multi-core actually. And it sort of like takes other people's perspective to make you kind of realize. So I guess it depends what kind of a person you are and what you want to get out of it. If you're not sure, go big, and then you can always, if you pigeonhole and you don't know, it's hard to, I can't speak from experience, but I don't know how you could hop across. So if you don't know, go to a big warehouse and learn everything, and then you'll soon find out, actually, I really hate coiling XLR, so maybe I shouldn't be on a stage. But putting boxes off a grid with a crane in the sky, that's fun for me. That's not my idea of a laugh, actually.
Jan, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I wasn't understanding the question, but then with the response of Sophia, I understand.
Fantastic. Well, I actually have a question specifically for you, Jan. So this person, we have a person that came from Argentina and they're currently living in Germany, but they wanted to ask you, how complicated do you find it to be a woman in sound in Latin America? And what are the challenges, and how easy or difficult is it for women in Latin America nowadays?
I really think that in Mexico and in Latin America, there's more machos. I don't know what's another way to say it.
Machismo, yeah.
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 I found it a lot, but I learned to work with it, because the way that I found it's my knowledge gives me the respect of the people in the industry. So at first I want to demonstrating that I know how to do the work, but now I think my name is a little more more people knows my name and work with me, so it comes more easily. But I think we are opening the doors for the other girls that are coming now. So I hope all of them don't need to go ahead all of the things that we passed, because we are making people change their minds. So I think now the people are accepting more that are women doing this and that are doing good. It's not just they're like, oh, girls, help, I will help you, and all of them are so strong. So it will be hard, but not the same hard that in the past. It's more easily now, I think. And if there are more and more and more girls in the stage, it would be more easily. Recently, I go, if you let me to say, I go to Lollapalooza. So there was a choice of girls of the collective, because we are making a big network now in Latin America. So I found there, and all of them helped me, because I wasn't have sound check, and all of them helps me, and I don't have any problem. So that kind of things that it's starting to happen, it will be for the people that are asking more easily. So don't be afraid. We are more and more every time.
That's the way we want to be moving. That's for sure. Thank you, Jan. Okay,
Yes.
does anybody here have some thoughts about someone that wants to start a career in sound later in life, like mid to like in their 40s or 50s? Any suggestions on how they might be able to pivot from a completely different industry and get into this type of work?
I have met a few people that didn't get into this industry until like 30 odd. To quote the internet, Oprah didn't get famous till she was like 40 anyway. So just do what you want, innit? But seriously, I think it's it is going back to the things being a lot lighter, and things being a lot more advanced than they were a few years ago. If it's something that you're still interested in doing, then if it's something that you've got a passion for and it's something that you're driven to do, that's like 60% of the gig. Like, if you've got the drive to make something of yourself and do it, then there's a lot less there's a lot more people doing a lot more with their lives with a lot less passion in the industry. So just do it. What have you got to lose apart from maybe your house?
And I mean, if you get a job in touring
Question.
sound, apparently you might not need one. So, you know.
And you could have a big yellow storage in a suitcase just like me.
You make it sound so glamorous.
It is pretty glamorous. We had water for free today and everything.
Here's a good question. You did talk kind of about equipment and heavy equipment, and how can a woman find live sound jobs when so many of them require the ability to lift heavy gear?
That's what we have statements for.
Pardon?
Yeah, exactly that, right? That's what local crews are for. Like, my local crew, have they read my rider of like a 6'4" tanned man? Because if not, then I'm not going to move my boxes, because I'm not, you don't, max, health and safety says anything over 15 kilos shouldn't legally be lifted by yourself. Therefore, every single box we carry should legally not be lifted on your own. So if I weigh 55 kilos and I can carry 2 15-kilo speakers on either hand, thus making it 30 kilos, does that make me weak, or does that make it actually a really pointless argument? Because I think it's a pointless argument.
At all? I mean,
exactly. Do you know, like, my rucksack is 25 kilos.
Sorry, what were you saying, Sabrina?
We can take the advantage of the machos that jump in at any time to help you out. I mean, I don't bother if anybody comes and asks me if he shall push my box up the ramp or help me lift my console. I will step back and let him do it.
Absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. You do the hard work. I'll just watch you push, love. Do that again, love. And I love calling them love too.
Do it on my own, of course.
What I always like to say is learn how to lead a crew, learn how to communicate, learn how to not hurt yourself when you inevitably have to pick something up. But beyond that, you're not going to lift something 200 pounds by yourself, right? And you're not going to be asked to. And if you are asked to, it's not reasonable.
Great advice. Thanks, Sam. Okay, this one's a little bit of a touchy subject. How do you deal with inappropriate and or sexually explicit comments from bands or coworkers?
Just tell them all.
Everybody's got an opinion on this one.
I learned a great hack. Ask again their own question when they make some kind of commentary. How do you say? When they say you something, ask again. How I can understand you, and they say like, and nothing. So or give a stop, no, I'm here to work, and I'm not great to hear you say me that. So stop, and that's all. You don't need to fight with anybody. You don't need to pull more pounds than anybody. Just give put your line, and anybody, and don't let anybody cross it.
Sam, did you have something to say too?
Decide who you let cross it.
Sorry, what was that, Sabrina?
Sorry?
I'm sorry, I stepped on you. What were you saying?
Oh, no worries. I just said that you decide who you let cross your lines. And I think Jan's advice to just ask the question back or just make them repeat the question is the best way you can do it. If you're not in the situation, to just give them the look and
the other fun one, and it's the same but different, is to say exactly their comment back to them.
Yeah.
But in a really, like, I like your legs when you do that. Oh, I like your legs when you do that. And then they suddenly realise how inappropriate it is. Like it's a really weird one for me because I have a very weird way of dealing with it. I will be the laddiest lad on the site and get you to talk to HR about me to the point that you won't ever make a comment about me because that would just be weird, wouldn't it? And it's such an odd, and it was even a conversation I had on a job recently. He straight up called me out. He was like, "Why do you make so many dick jokes?" And I'm like, "Because I don't have one." And it's the first thing that people point out. So it's the first thing that I'm going to make a joke out of because that's the way I've kind of learned to deal with it. When I feel uncomfortable, I make inappropriate comments back to remind them how like awkward it's like, you're making me feel really uncomfortable and awkward right now. I'm just going to try and do it almost. It's a really broken way of dealing with it. I'm not suggesting it's the way to deal with it, but it's a bit like, instead of getting them to repeat it, it's like saying it back to them in a really stupid voice, especially when tensions are high and they've said it in a way that it was really unnecessary and there's so much going on right now. And it's like saying it to them it's such a childish thing to do, turn around, basically like a toddler. But that's kind of what I do. And they almost go, "Oh, is that actually what I just said?" And you're like, "Yeah, that's the words that came out."
So shifting kind of to a different topic, and Jan, I think this one will apply mostly to you. Do you have any? There's some questions about motherhood and having children. And Jan, do you have any suggestions on, being a working mother in the industry? Suggestions on working while pregnant or having a newborn? How did you kind of navigate that?
Well, I worked since I have 8 months with this big my stomach, and anything changed. So, but when I have my baby, it changed because some people stops to call me because they think that I wasn't work because I have a baby. So I starting to work again, and I think without the support of my husband, I can't, because it's so hard. Uh, don't talking about the people that can or do not can to take care of your child, but it's so hard to separate for weeks and for days or for hours because they always needing you. But what I'm solved to do, it's explain my baby and take with me to twice of the shows, so in that way, he can see what I'm doing and why is the reason that I'm not in home for longer times. So he starts to understand. I give to him a little big, a little brown bear, and I say, Baby, I want to go, but with this one, you will remember that you and me are." That anybody and anything will be separate us. So remember that I love you, and that's my work. So another moms are in another works, but your mom makes this and I love it, and I want to share with him that if you do the things that you love, you can give love to the people too. So it's hard, but you can. It will be hard, but you can. I'm not saying that I'm the happiest going in a tour for a month or something, but I think if I happy doing this, I can transmit him happy when he finds the things that make him happy to not leave. So that's the way.
Great.
I think it's not easy.
Thanks, Jan. So we have a question from a 17-year-old, so impressionable young minds, inspiring. And this person is in love with live sound. They're currently working 3 jobs in live sound and production to gain experience for when they graduate high school. The question is, should she go to college for audio engineering, or should she go to a trade school specifically for audio? Sam looks
If
like
you're
you got
asking
something to say.
I, that sounds very similar to what I was like at 17. I, at the time, made the decision not to go to university. I went to graft and network and training and did seminars and networked and did more and learnt more and just got more work at local venues, and the bigger the venue, the better the next job and all the rest of it. So when I actually went and did, so in England we do GCSEs, which is like mandatory education. They've just upped it to 18, but it used to be mandatory education to 16, then you can go to college or a sixth form. So I did 2 years of a sixth form and then went back and did another 2 years of college. So it's basically like 2 lots of I don't even know what Americanisms it is. And so by the time I went to like college age in America, I'd already done like 2 years working in a local venue. I'd had to do, like, even through school, I was working in a kitchen at the same time as doing the local festivals, as well as doing local venues, as well as driving an hour and a half away to get to another venue that felt like a cooler one. And I then got a full-time job for about 18 months as a school technician when I first left college. So it was doing lights and all, basically fixing ukuleles all week, backline tech kind of thing. And by doing that, I was then able to have as much free time in my evenings to do a sensible job that my mum and dad wanted me to do during the day, but still do what I wanted to do, which was live sound in the evening. And then it sort of, over about 3 or 4 years, it naturally progressed into, I can actually earn enough money to then lose the kitchen work and move on to sort of other things. So if you're somebody that isn't scared to go out and just see what happens and try and see what you can get out there and apply to local PA companies and turn up on their warehouse door and keep turning up every week and going, I still want a job, by the way. I know I was here last week. It's still the same. I still really want this job. If you're somebody that wants to have a bit more safety net to it, then college is a very much way to go, or there's an apprenticeship, there's that also way to go. But it isn't the only way to go. You can learn a lot, and you learn so much technology so quickly that way. But if you're not somebody that can sit still, which is why you want to do this kind of an industry, going to college might not be the best thing for you. Like for me, it would have been the opposite. I probably would have a very different career. I might not even still be doing it if I'd have had to sit down and study it, because I didn't do it very well at school. So why would I go and do it later on? So I think it's very, you know yourself, about yourself. And I think that it's something you've got to be really harsh with your own reality on what kind of a person are you? Because if you are somebody that goes, oh no, I am actually all right with being on the floor for a little bit to put, but if you need constant reassurance, education might be a bit more in line with your, way of thinking, I guess.
Sam,
Not only this, Sophie.
Please, Sabrina.
From the German point of view and from a leading position in a company, I would say in Germany, you don't have a chance knocking at doors anymore. You may find somebody who takes you for an apprenticeship then, but also universities offer good courses and good education for event technicians, and you're still young. I mean, you can, of course, go to school and work in the weekends and help and work for stagehand companies or for local clubs that hire people, but you should take every opportunity in education you can get.
I think for me, my answer depends on where in the world you are, right?
Absolutely.
Because in the US, we don't have that as much as I think it's lovely that I wish we did, right? Because that would make this much less complicated. But I mean, what I would say is when I was 18, I made the bet that I essentially made a bet on myself that the experience I was going to get going into a shop and working for a year was going to outweigh what I would learn in school. When I was going to school, because I did a 2-year associates, I had a academic advisor tell me that the education in colleges in the US is approximately 4 years behind the live sound industry. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. I don't claim to be it. But by the time that it takes them to write the curriculum, get it approved, train the professors, and implement it, you are now learning in school what was cutting edge technology touring 4 years ago. Right? So I said, okay, I'm going to leave and go get this internship, and I'm going to fight really hard to get a job. Right? And that to me, the time I had, the now 5 years, 4 and some change years of experience, I would have had by the time I was done with my degree. I now have almost 5 years in the industry. And that, in my opinion, has gotten me further than anybody I know with the acoustics of whatever bachelor's, master's degree. Now, if you're someone who wants to have a formal training and ever wants to teach or wants to do something that requires an academic background, totally go to school. But if you're someone who just wants to do the thing, you can always go back to school.
Great advice.
I think
Yes, Jen.
I think there's are things that don't come in the books. There are things that you need to learn in the stage, in doing the things, because the things that the book says, there are in totally controlled situations. But in an emergency, your books sometimes don't help you so much. You need more your the fast of your brain to reaction to some situations, more in live shows, because in live shows there's no space for mistakes. So both, if you combine both, you can defend yourself in a stage, I think.
All right, we have a ton more questions, but obviously we are over time. So I'm just going to ask you one last sort of lightning round fun question and then throw it over to Chris to kind of wrap us up and finish this off today. So last lightning round quick question. What is your go-to speaker check song?
Surely you've got to answer this one, Sam.
Right.
Wait, what was that, Sabrina?
I think it's Alan Parsons' Left and Right recording for monitors.
There you go. Sam, do you have one?
Hey Now by London Grammar is usually my go-to.
All right. Jan?
Sorry, I don't understand so good a question.
No, what song do you like to play at the beginning of sound check to check the system?
Okay.
What's your go-to?
I play what's the name of the song? It's For Seal. This is a Men's World. It's the name of the song. And Hotel California live, and another one of Not About. Not About. It's correctly. I want to say
Good.
Not About. Yes, hell yeah good.
Hella good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta be hella good.
Sophie?
It's got just hella good, really, isn't it? Hella good. And then the very first guy I ever worked with used to use Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes by Paul Simon. So that as well, because it starts really nice and tinkly, and then that bass just slides right in there, doesn't it?
Fantastic. All righty. Chris, you want to wrap us up?
Yep. Thank you, Cheryl. And thank you all so much for being on this panel today. You have amazing insight, and I think the audience questions just show the fact that we probably could have sat here for another couple hours to gain those even further insights. So just a reminder, as I said at the top of the session, this was our fourth panel, so look for the other ones if you're so moved online on Shure's YouTube channel. If you have suggestions for what you'd like to see in the future, drop it in the Q&A now, or send an email to publicrelations@shure.com. And make sure to follow us on social media, Shure, that's S-H-U-R-E, of course, to learn more. I'll hold my microphone up so you can see the spelling, to learn more about future panels like this. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day.
Wonderful day. Thanks for the invitation.